have to give these beautiful sisters a proper, or queens, that's what I'm going to call them. Queens of education, some queens of education, honey. And first, I want to welcome to the Dr. Don Radio Show. Both of these ladies are first timers. She's a crisis counselor, guidance counselor, mental health first aid trainer, and she is also the owner of Our Counseling Corner. Let us welcome to the Dr. Don Radio Show, Iris Pelton-Hamlett. How are you?
I'm doing good today.
Good. Long day?
Yeah, it's been a long day at work. Yesterday was the last day for our students, so we wrapped up the school year strong.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a good week.
Good. That's what I like to hear. And then last but not least, she's co-founder of the Concerned Citizens and African American Parents. She is the past president of Lewisville Independent School District. She was one of the teachers at my high school, and she never had to put me in the corner, I don't think. Sister, and I call her sister. Look, sister, when you grow up with people, sister, same church, all that. Sister Vernell Gregg. How are you, Sister Gregg?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Looking good. Looking good. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Just, Sister Gregg, we had, my dad, shout out to my dad. He said, you got to have Sister Gregg on the show. We had this education topic, so it was perfect. Perfect. But ladies, first of all, and I want to start with you, Iris, and then you, Sister Gregg. So the audience knows I have credible people talking about this topic. Give us your background, what you do, how long you've been in education, and all of that.
Okay. Well, I'm currently a middle school guidance counselor, and I've been a guidance counselor for the last 8 years. This was my second year as a middle school counselor. Previously, I was a high school counselor. Background in ELAR. I've been in education for 18 years, going into my 19th year this upcoming school year. I'm also a mental health first aid trainer, where I train most of the people I train are actually educators, but it's abroad. I've trained a number of people, an array of people. And I'm also a trained crisis counselor through the crisis text line. And then, as you said earlier, I am the founder and owner of Our Counseling Corner, which is a website that provides just numerous resources for families, students, anyone who works with youth. A lot of the resources there are going to be either free or affordable. Some of them are national websites and different things like that, organizations, and most of them will be considered local, DFW area, because that's where I'm from. Okay. But I like to keep it just kind of open across the board. You can find anything on there from help with free tutoring sites, because there are actually some tutoring sites that offer online tutoring for free. Anything from having understanding of 504 special education. If you're struggling, your child is struggling in school as far as, and you're looking for other options, such as like you have Khan Academy and different things like that for dropout prevention programs, online learning. Just it's so much out there, so many resources. Just counseling. It's actually some free counseling resources out there as well, and affordable. So it's a lot you can find on the website, and that's just tipping just a little bit of the iceberg of what's on the website. But the goal is to make sure that families are empowered to know that whatever they're going through, they can overcome it with help, because there are many organizations in the community. Their goal is just to do that, just to help to provide free or affordable services for families so that their children can thrive and grow.
That's good. Thank you. Sister Gregg, give us your resume. And she's not done yet. She says she's retired, but she's not retired. Don't let her fool y'all.
Well, I thought I have been retired for since 1997. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
And however, I have always mentored students from the time I started school teaching in 1975. I've always had a group of some kind of teens on the side. My own children were in high school at that time, or middle school, high school. And their friends were with in a group that I had called Youth Against Cancer. So that was one of my first groups that I had working with teens. And I'm still, that group I still communicate with.
Yeah.
So it's long term. Once you start with kids, sometimes it continues.
Yeah.
I also work with, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Tau Omega chapter, and a charter member
Yeah.
of the Carrollton chapter. And we have been, this is our 30th year.
Okay.
So I have been very active with teens with various programs with that. We had a wonderful program just a few years ago called Ascend, and those kids came through that program, did extremely well, and many of them are graduating from college now.
Good.
So this is one of the things I have, and then of course with your father, I wondered, I said, how did she get me into this?
Yeah.
And then with the self-esteem
Yeah.
program, I have always used things that would motivate my students.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate because I was able to teach language arts, middle school, and well, I did have fourth grade for a while,
Yeah.
but predominantly middle school. And I was always able to incorporate the self-esteem programs with that.
Right.
And then when I got ready to move from the Flower Mound area to be near my children here in the Woodlands, I thought, what am I going to do with all of this stuff? I didn't want to just throw it out. And your father, I remembered that he had sent me something, an email some time ago, that he had gone through the Zig Ziglar program.
Okay.
And I had a lot of Zig Ziglar and had gone through the I Can, You Can, by Mamie, I Can, You Can Too, by Mamie McCullough. I had all of that. I had gone through her workshop. And so I said, now I don't need this. Who can I give it to? So I gave him bags of books. And
Yeah.
so that's probably where your dad got this self-esteem from.
Hey, Miss Gregg, it is, and so it is perfect timing.
It is perfect timing, yes.
Now, this is because, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, ladies. We know that. But it is National Teen Self-Esteem Month, and our teens are battling. You see it. You've seen it, Miss Gregg. You still see it.
Yes.
Iris, you see it. But I want to start with you, Iris, with this question, and then you, Miss Gregg. You know, without breaking confidentiality, of course, we need a wake-up call. Those who don't work in the school, parents, right? What are some things teens have shared with you without breaking confidentiality when it comes to challenges that they're facing?
I've worked with kids in so many aspects. They've spoken to me about homelessness, pregnancy, as far as just bullying. They've talked to me about suicidal thoughts, you name it, just things going on within the household, divorce,
Yeah.
just family trauma and different things, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
But I mean, you name it, I've had kids talk to me about it over the years.
Bullying, it's a whole new level, social media is a beautiful tool, but also these young people have found a way to bully, and adults are bullying too. It's crazy, but our kids, their mind, they're still developing. They sometimes can't handle those pressures. You, Miss Gregg, give us a few things, maybe without breaking confidentiality, of course, that teens maybe have shared with you. It was a different time then, but still, hey.
The biggest problem that mine had at the time was lack of resources. They were from low-income homes that they felt bad because they could not do some of the things that other kids could do. They couldn't participate in activities like even the band, where there was a fee a lot of times. We just don't think about all the little extras that kids are missing when they're coming from the poverty level.
Yeah.
And that is what's plaguing us more than anything now, the high growth of poverty.
Yeah. My goodness. And Iris, you said homelessness, and shout out to Lisa and our board. We'll talk about that later. Iris and I are on the board of Celebrating You, an organization that helps prepare our young people, not only for college, but to be just productive members of society. But she says, awesome show, our amazing board members. God bless you, Lisa. But homelessness, you don't think, homelessness, can't afford the school trips.
Yes.
All of that, our kids are battling. So how do you all deal with that? Iris, you, and then Miss Gregg. A child tells you, I can't eat lunch today. Do they have programs? They can't make the school trip. How do you deal with that? How do you guys deal with that?
Well, if they're actually homeless, if they tell us that they're homeless, then we actually have to go through the process of coding them homeless. That'll fall under McKinney-Vento. But what the goal is just to keep them connected to resources. A lot of schools have a program called Communities in Schools, social workers. And so we get them connected with the social workers on campus. So that they can get connected to resources. We have various churches that connect to our school.
Okay.
And that's all schools. My previous schools, it was different churches and different programs that would connect to the schools just to see if there's a need. And then we contact them and they kind of connect us and get connected with the families to meet those needs. We pass out Thanksgiving baskets, Christmas, things for Christmas, make sure that they have those needs met. But the main thing is just to kind of talk to them, like she said, see what's going on to see how can we meet the needs. There's so many various organizations out there that the resources are there. It's just getting them connected to the resources and making sure that they feel comfortable enough to even open up about what's going on. Sometimes we can know quickly. Other times it may be a coach coming to tell me about it, or teacher, or so that's why it's so important to have just a big village of people who are able to connect to these kids and the families, just to make sure that, hey, when we come together, we can help meet the needs of what's going on within our community and with our students.
So Miss Gregg, here we go, right? We clearly see, and Miss Gregg, I don't know if you're on Instagram, but we see students hitting teachers. We see, teachers fighting students. Iris, you're on Instagram. You see the video. You see everything going on. It was and in no way I'm not a teacher. I'm not talking down about at all. It is a different time. Right. These kids are angry.
Yes.
Parents are different, because Miss Gregg, when I was in Lewisville High School, she could go, if I was cutting up, she could go to my mom and daddy. And then the principal was the pastor's wife too. So it was a different time. My mom would be like, what's Miss Gregg telling me this for? She would ask me, but it took a village. Right. Talk about how parenting is just different. And these kids are battling, but mom and dad are just, the family dynamic has changed, which affects our children as well.
Most definitely.
You hit it on the nail when you said the family breakdown of the family is the main thing.
Yeah.
There were times, as you said, if there was a problem with a kid, the whole time I taught, I could say I had 2 discipline problems in the whole 22 years that I taught that I could not handle on my own.
Wow.
I had classroom management under control and because I knew I had the parental support. However, today, the parents are so stressed out that they don't have, they're just at their wits' end themselves. They're trying to do the best they can. And their children are just out of control. And that's why I'm still out there trying. Communities in School, you mentioned that. I was a volunteer with, just before I left, 3 years ago, with a program called Lunch with a Leader.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
We mentored kids at one of the low-income schools, and we had lunch with them once a month, and then maybe we would meet with them at school at another time during the month. And this was a way of helping. But some of the things that those poor kids went through, they couldn't read, they couldn't write, and these were fifth grade students.
Wow.
And I remember when I first started, I was teaching 4th grade. I taught them to read, to write poetry, memorize, and all of this stuff. And so what is going on? So it's the breakdown. I think that everybody is just struggling, and they're doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
However, we've got to find more resources to help parents.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do many of those things too, because through the sorority, and when you mentioned the kids not being able to afford certain things, band, I got the sorority to help sponsor kids in the band, help kids in cosmetology, because all of these things, there's a fee attached to it.
Yeah.
And if they tried to ask their parents for it, they knew that it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And so we can only do a little at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping that as now things are so bad, and I do know that some of the sororities and fraternities are stepping up to the plate and volunteering, because in my community that I left, and I hated that I had to leave it, because there was a minister at West Side that was there, and he's only been there. He was just coming as I was leaving almost.
Yeah.
But he's very community oriented, and we needed something like that for the community. So I have hope, but it's going to take, as you said, a village.
Yeah.
And we've got to focus on helping to save our children.
Yeah, because and we can sit up, y'all, and we can say, well, the mama should do this, the daddy should do that. But Iris, the truth is they're not. So what are we gonna do? If mama's grown and she doesn't want, or maybe she couldn't break the generational curse, right? Like you said, Sister Gregg, they're doing the best they can.
Right.
So Iris, you know, you can only do what you can do. But when a child cannot afford to go on a trip, if we're adults and we're like, look, we can't afford to do that, we move on.
Right.
You know, but a child, peer pressure,
a
shame, you know, there's just so much that our young kids are dealing with. But do you find, Iris, that sometimes the parents are fighting against you and not working with you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How?
Sometimes you definitely see that. They don't want people to know that they're suffering and going through things.
Right.
And so they'd rather just suffer in silence, like you said earlier. I've worked with families where, honestly, I've seen it where it took a whole year to build a relationship to where they feel they can trust you enough to be able to share what's going on. And you can see it. You can call and ask them about it. You know, how can we help here? But you're not going to get the phone call. They're not, or I'll call you back, and they don't call you back until everything breaks down to where they're like, hey, I got to get the help.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it is fighting against it. I remember one time it was a parent who was actually jealous of the help their child was getting. There's like, nobody helped me like this in school. Nobody, when nobody get this. And I was like, whoa. So when you talk about generational curses and just different things like that, that parent, you know, they went through the same thing, but they were jealous that they weren't the help that we were providing as a school. Actually experienced jealousy with that. And I was like, whoa, you know, me and the other teacher in the room, I mean, all we could do is get quiet and let them know that, hey, you need some help, we can provide help and services for you too. And I always have a contact list, like just a list of resources that I provide to families. And if they need me to call, I don't mind calling. But sometimes they just don't always take advantage of the free resources. And sometimes it goes back to maybe they're afraid, they don't want people to know the shame and different things like that. But the truth is, we all go through something. So the main thing is to make sure your child is getting help they need. And so,
but you all said, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said, and sometimes that starts with you first, you getting the help you need so that you can be the best support system for your child. That's
right. Or they could be jealous of you. My child, you know, but they're dealing with their own insecurities, you know, right? But, you know, and I'm telling you, and I like what you both have said, you can only do so much.
Right.
But I can only imagine what you all go through. Like, how do you, because what you all do when a child cannot afford a meal, okay, Sister Gregg, you got the sorority to help with the backpacks. But the truth is that child going to eat tonight? Is that child, you know, so how do you have peace? Like, how do you sleep at night knowing, man, what is this child going through? Because so many kids, how do you all do that?
That can be difficult. One thing, I went into education my first year, it was like, oh my goodness, it was hard to sleep and different things like that. But one of the things I went back to remembering, prayer. You know, it's kind of like the prayer of serenity. Lord, you know, give me the basically the grace. I can't remember it totally, but to accept the things I cannot change it.
That's good.
And the wisdom to know the difference. And just to know that in some battles, you won't win them all. But you can pray through it and pray for them. And I've seen some where they come back a few years later and you made it. You made it.
Amen.
Kids are more resilient than you think. They overcome more. When you stop and think about it, we knew some people who went through some stuff like, whoa, how did they make it through that? They're successful now. You know, they push through. And so, you know, as they go to the next level, you got to know, hey, I'm passing the torch to the next one. And I'm going to pray that guess what? they're going to have somebody. They're going to have a mother Williams or whoever it may be, or they're going to have that person along the way, because when they go from middle school to high school, I'm like, cover them in prayer and just be like, Lord, help them to have their next level of support. I've had some parents tell me, oh my goodness, you're not going to be with them. You want to go to the high school? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I can't follow them to the high school, but I'm going to be right here. If you need me, you can email me.
That's right.
Exactly.
And yeah, just be a support system for them and pray for them. The biggest thing we can ever do is pray.
Pray without ceasing, right, Miss Gregg?
Well, I that's exactly what I had to do many, many times, because I was the only Black teacher at DeLay at the time, and many of these young men were going through some trying times. And so what I did is they needed a sense of belonging and something to do so that they could have a place to vent and talk, and to know that someone was there to support them. So luckily I had a principal that would go along with me. So I just said, let me start an African American club. This was back in the 80s.
Yes, I remember that.
And so, and they didn't just think, and I found the yearbook the other day that had one in it, and I thought, I laughed, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was bold to start something like that. But it gave those students a sense of pride. And one of the students that was on there, that picture was Roland Fryer. He's now,
and Harvard,
and now he's a big Harvard professor. And all of and a lot of those kids went on to be successful. And so just having a sense of belonging, and I used to tell them, don't let anyone get inside of your head. You are responsible for you. So when you act out and want to lash out at that teacher, you're not going to win. So that's why it is so important to have kids to have a sounding board, so that they will, somebody who can tell them truthfully that I'm here to help you, as long as you're doing what you can do that is right. Because that is helping them to build their self-esteem.
I tell you, I think it's, because in no way do we want to condemn our young teachers. They're learning. But it was a different time, different teachers. And you all's opinion, we're not judging, we're not condemning. Are teachers equipped to handle our students? What is it that back in the day the teachers had the respect, but now things are out of control in the classroom? Is it that there are more students to teacher ratio? What contributes? What do you all have seen? Because we see what's going on with HISD, the TEA takeover.
Well, that was
Irish, you're in Dallas, but still, it made national news on what's going on, and some teachers have already felt the effects. We'll see what's the case with that, Governor Abbott. But what is it that you all are seeing?
Well, from my point of view, since it was long time ago, the main thing is that we were allowed to use our professionalism, and we were allowed to do a lot more to help. However, they have added so much to the teachers now, and some of these states have just filled them full of all kinds of different, put strains on them that they cannot meet. And plus the teachers, some of them are not certified. We have a large percentage of alternative certified teachers now. Some of them are very, very good. However, some of them are coming straight out of the business world, and when they get there, they're just shocked. What is this? It's not what they thought it would be. So a lot of the problems that we're having now is because I hate to say it, but they have, the politicians have.
It's no judgment, just realness. Say it.
And I just think that we need to give it back to the profession. You had people who truly loved what they did. Money was not, we knew we weren't going to get rich. In fact, it was our salaries were so low then, it's a wonder that some of us made it. However, we loved what we did. And one of the joys, like, you remembering from way back when, and I get calls like that periodically from kids that I had years ago. and coming up with ideas that, do you remember that time when you told me that if I would just be good for a week that you would take me to Brahms?
Yeah.
No, I didn't remember, but they did.
Yeah.
So kids need to have people who will reach out when they're having problems to show them that they care.
Yeah.
And the teachers today, I think they want to do it, but they have so many regulations placed on them now that I just think that they are just overwhelmed. And plus the breakdown of the family, the poverty. We had some, but only a few.
Yeah.
But every generation, and so even more determined. That's why I stay out here. Tell these kids, if it's going to be, it's up to me. You got to do it on your own. It's not going to be handed to you. Without struggle, there's no progress.
Thank you for sharing that. People need to know the teachers aren't just, it's like they can't teach anymore. They have to follow the guidelines. There's the STAR test. Your students better pass the STAR. If they don't, then Iris, you want to weigh in on that?
I mean, I agree with everything she was saying. It was really, really good. They have a scope and sequence they have to follow. They have to be at a certain point at a certain time within the curriculum. If they're not there, then that's a penalty on them. Like you said, the test scores, if they're not there, what are you doing different here and there? And then all of that on top of parent support is different from what it used to be. It used to be a village parenting a child. Now it's, oh, did you say this to my child? Or did you do this to my child? Or did, and don't get me wrong, professionalism, like she said, is always important. You want to watch what you say to children. You want to watch how you treat children. Regardless if little Bobby was running around or little Sally was running around doing whatever, it's a way to correct them without snatching them up or something like that. To put your hands on their child, because you don't want somebody else to put their hands on your child, so it goes back to the golden rule of treating people the way you want to be treated. Children the way you would want someone to treat your children, but also teaching your child to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
It goes for the adults as well, your teachers. I've seen a kid who showed out and I'm like, your mama's a teacher too. Do you want kids treating your mother like this? Well, they're not gonna treat my mama like this because of that. I'm like, okay. Well, your mama could get somebody who treat them like you're treating this teacher, and would you like that? Oh no, if they treated my mama like this, I'm like, well, there's a misconception. There's something wrong there with that picture. And we got to watch how we're raising our children. Are we raising them to treat people with respect? Are we teaching them what respect looks like? Because that goes a long way. The way sometimes the teachers are talked to, you can't talk. And I tell the kids in my office, you can't go talk to your supervisor that way when you get a job and think you're going to get a job.
That's right. You're not going to have a job.
You can't just do it how you want to do it and talk to them how you want to talk to them and think that they still have to pay you, because they don't. When it comes down to it, replaceable, but students know that they aren't replaceable. Then, when it comes down to it, some parents and students may look at it, well, we pay you through taxes. I've heard kids say that. I'm like,
wow, really? They bold. I mean, Miss Gregg, would I ever say, even if I wanted to say that, I would never say it.
No.
They don't pay no bills. They don't pay NAM bills. Got a $600 cell phone. I still don't understand how a high school. But anyway, that's another. Lisa says, "Amen, Iris." Seriously, but it was a different time, like in the 90s, 80s, 90s. I didn't need a cell phone at school.
Well, and nowadays there are many teachers that are afraid of the parents, because the parents will come up, and they're so boisterous, and they're claiming that the teachers are picking on their kids all the time. Wow. Instead of, and we didn't have that. Most often, if we called a parent, then that kid was going to be in trouble, or we were going to have some support. Now the parent would, and I commend the parents. They should always listen to what's going on, hear everything, because you want to support your child. Because sometimes there could be a mistake or something that you need to help your child. However, 9 times out of 10, when that kid had acted up, he needed to be in trouble with the parent, needed some kind of punishment.
Wow. Now look, I'm going to read these comments and I want to know what you all think. Iris, I want to hear you, and then Sister Gregg. Lisa, and then thank you, PWP Life. I'll be reading your comment in a minute. Let's look at Lisa's. She says parents are afraid of their children today.
Wow.
Iris, Sister Gregg, what? True.
I mean, some parents are,
Yeah.
and it goes back to sometimes parents, they're so desperate to be their child's friend and get their child's approval that they're willing to sacrifice some things, and they don't realize that in the long run, what the real sacrifice is, what you're not teaching them, that's going to be a detriment to them later on down the line. Because your goal is not to be your child's friend, not their best friend like that. Your goal is to build a relationship with your child.
Right.
Your goal should always be to listen and hear your child, but you have to be able to correct your child too, and correct them in love.
In love, absolutely.
Correct them in love, not out of hate and anger and all of these different things, but be composed in a way where you can you're teaching them as you are correcting them.
Yeah,
and
but they're learning. Babies raising. I mean, it's a different time. Sister Gregg, what do you have to say?
You got to be present.
Yeah, you got to be present. You got to be present. Sister Gregg, parents are afraid of their children. What do you want to say on that comment?
That is unbelievable. However,
yeah.
I mean, I raised in my children, and I'm sure, well, my kids even older than you, but I always had something they believed in. What I said was law. We discussed. I allowed them to discuss, but the discipline, here are the rules. You have choices. You have consequences. You weigh the consequences if you decide that you're going to do it your way. And I had something to hold over them all the way through high school, including taking car keys because they weren't paying any car notes.
I know that's right.
And so if they violated a rule, then they had to suffer the consequence. We had discussed our rules ahead of time.
Yeah.
So they knew if you got a C in my house, your phone was gone. And I don't know what I do today with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But then it was just the telephone. I could yank the phone, and you didn't have calls until that C got up.
That's right.
So, but these parents today, they're so stressed out trying to make ends meet.
Yes, I believe it.
Everybody is so tight.
Yes.
They need family counseling. And in the state of California at one time, I remember I went to a workshop years ago. I lived in San Francisco from the 71 to 74. And they had workshops for parents through the school district. And that was kind of helpful. And I even thought about trying to volunteer with that at one time, but my children were still at the point where they needed me a little bit too much. So
I do see some districts getting back to the parenting workshops and getting back to bringing the community in so many different ways. I do see more of that happening because they see the need. I mean, something I thought about too with the consequences with what you were saying, which is needed. If parents don't look at the back end of that, not giving the consequences, if you don't teach them, life will teach them.
Absolutely.
Life is not going to have grace or mercy like you will. And so you're better off as a parent just going ahead and giving the consequences, going ahead and taking away some things because society will take it away. If they don't get it from you, society will teach them in the long run of what you didn't.
Right.
And society will take you out. We've seen law enforcement out of control. I mean, we've seen the consequences, and not to say you're a bad parent because your child, that's not what we're saying, but they're making a point. If you don't teach them authority, if you don't teach them to respect authority, we see that sometimes authority can't handle their authority and they go rogue. I'm Adrienne Rose. Shout out to Adrienne, PWP Life. She says, I'm loving this. All true. If we had a lie detector test, you all would pass it. Okay. Maury Povich would say you are telling the truth. Thank you, Adrienne. Shout out to you. Shout out Toy, another board member. Toy says, yes, parents are young now.
Yeah, babies raising
babies having babies.
Right. They need help.
They need help. And it's easy for us to say, well, they shouldn't be having babies, but they are. So what are we going to do? I mean,
what you see an increase in, you actually see an increase in grandparents raising grandkids.
Right.
Because of the babies having babies that aren't ready. I've seen it where I've talked to parents, they're raising they're raising their nieces and nephews because the parent has walked out. I mean, I've heard this over the last few years of, oh, I'm raising my niece and my nephew.
Right.
A lot of I'm raising my grandchild.
Right.
And it's somewhere along the way, something that you said earlier about the village concept. We got to make sure we get back to that. It can't be where I'm the only one who can say something to my child.
That's right.
If I know that you have good values, if I know that you know, I'm looking at your character, I'm checking out some things. It's some at some point I should be able to tell you, yeah, go ahead and say what you gotta say, do what you gotta do.
That's right.
You know, that do what you gotta do doesn't mean put your hands on anybody.
That's
It
right.
doesn't mean cuss somebody out or act ignorant. But it means correct with love.
With love.
Yes.
If I know somebody actually is correcting my child in love, I'm all for it.
That's
If
right.
they see my child out of line or my children out of line and they pull them to the side to tell them some good information that apparently if I can't reach them, you can, I'm all for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because somebody got to be able to reach you.
Yeah.
Right.
But we live in it. Oh no, go ahead.
Well, that is one of the reasons that we started the group that I mentioned, Concerned Citizens for African American Parents.
Yeah.
We started that in 2003 in Lewisville to just try to help parents because the discipline, our kids were being suspended way more often than some of the other kids. And they were not being challenged like we felt that should have been challenged. And so we just felt like they had a problem and we wanted to get parents together to let them know that they had a support group.
That's awesome.
And this support group, we were advocating for them, but they would have to help.
Yeah.
And we would have symposiums several times a year. We would have workshops and all kinds of things. And just to try to help them and guide them, show them how to navigate through the school systems. Because so often we think that the school system, the counselors are going to be able to help, for instance, tell the kids to apply for this scholarship years ago. They're not. So we want to help kids, help the parents so that they can help their children. And then sometimes if there's a grievance or something, we wanted the parents to know we're there to help you. And we would even go with them to help them. And just recently, our president of our organization, she saw on Facebook that there was another similar group in Round Rock. And so we invited that parent to our last meeting.
Okay.
And so this is what's needed. The community has to organize and get together to try to help our children.
That's right.
The need is greater now than ever.
Oh, it
and
is.
we're leaving. We're just losing too many of our students. And since the COVID, it's even worse.
Yes.
And then with them trying to say that the vouchers are going to help our poor kids, it's only going to hurt them. And it's going to make things even worse, which means that we need to be on record to say, we're going to step up and try to help as many kids as we can.
The goal can always be that, to go back to the kids, making sure it's the focus on the kids. How can we help them? So I love that. Love what you're doing.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about signs, because sometimes parents, auntie, grandma miss the signs. Just because your child's on the honor roll doesn't mean they're not battling self-esteem issues. In fact, I had a sister, she shared her testimony. She was being of how she survived sexual abuse as a child, and she was an overachiever. So she always got good grades. So everybody thought everything was good at home, but actually she was overachieving to cope with the sexual abuse that she endured. What are some warning signs that we don't see? You know, you can see the child's moods change. They're in their room by themselves, all of those things. But what are some things that are not obvious that parents, guardians it would maybe be a red flag that their child's battling self-esteem issues?
I say listen to what they're saying. Take the time to listen. Are they saying things like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, everybody does this right but me? Is it a lot of negative self-talk? I guess you put it that way. Is it a lot of negative self-talk? And even look at, like you said, I do like the signs you said. Are you always in your room? Are you always isolating? Is there a big change in your demeanor as far as even your appearance? Did you go from being this kid that was always dressed up and this and that to like you're barely caring for yourself, you're barely doing your hair, you're just here, you're just there.
Yeah.
So just kind of look out. Just one of the biggest things you can ever do with kids is to talk to them, to let them know that you're hearing them.
Right.
Non-judgmentally.
Right.
Making sure they don't ever feel judged. They should be able to talk to you about anything. And it's not like oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Oh my, because then that's putting more pressure and anxiety on them, and they just want to open up and share in a safe place.
Yeah. Yeah. You, Miss Gregg, what are some signs?
I agree with with all of that, because the most important thing is to let your kids know that you love them, and that you're there, that they can come to you to communicate, no matter what the problem is, good, bad, or indifferent, whether you want to hear it or not. But they need to share rather than just holding it within.
Yeah. Do
And
teens
go
ahead, Iris.
Tell them that you love them. I've heard several adults say, I've never heard my parents say they love me.
Oh, wow.
Adults.
Wow.
And so just if you're an adult who've never told your kid you love them, practice that now so you can break that generational curse of not speaking that. I mean, we got to speak positivity into our kids. We got to let them know they are loved, because if not, they're going to seek love in other places.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So I like how you said, make sure they know, they hear it. I love you.
Exactly. And there is one of the poems that Virginia Satir is, some of them call her the founder of family therapy. And she wrote a poem called I Am Me. And it is something that I had my fourth graders memorize, my every grade memorize. And I think everyone should take a look at that, because it's basically helping the students to learn to love themselves. And they have to realize that regardless of who you are, how you are unique.
That's
and
right.
You have so many qualities, perfect things within that other people might not have.
Yeah.
You own your successes, your failures, but in spite of everything, you're okay. I am me and I'm okay. But I strongly recommend the poem I Am Me by Virginia Satir.
That's awesome.
I am me. And let me tell you what else, Miss Gregg, Sister Gregg and Iris, and I like that you hit on that, Miss Gregg, your situation, because a teen may be like, but I'm in poverty, I'm poor, I can't. Why don't we show them examples of people who were just like you and who made it out? You have to show them the people you see now, they weren't always this successful. In fact, when I was talking to the kids, Lisa had me, celebrating you. She asked me to come to talk to the kids. I talked about my failure. The reason why I'm here is because of a failure. Flunked out of law school, okay? But that brought me to media and to what I'm doing now. So you got to take the disappointment might be leading you to your destiny if you change your perspective.
Yes.
Because there might have been a kid like, I failed. Honey, I failed too.
Yes.
Oprah failed. All of us failed, but we keep going, right? Yes. So we got to also show the kids, hey, there's somebody who was just like you, and look at them now.
Right.
So I'm telling you, now, this is what
I want. Share your story. I like that. Share your
story, because we do all this. And let me tell you something, there's nothing wrong with the career days. But if we're going to go to a career day, let's keep it real. Don't get up there and talk to the kids. I went to college. I did an internship and everything was great. Good for you. Let me give y'all my story. Kids, because that's nice that Sally had that little story. But I'm just, we have to be real with these kids, because they can think one thing, but let's just take off the mask. Because I think kids can see through that too. Don't y'all think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I one day I'm going to write my story, but it's going to be called You Don't Know My Story. What You See Is God's Glory. That's the name.
Amen. I love it. Let me clap it up for that. Applause. Hold on. Woo! All right. Love
and the reason I say that is because looking at me, you think that I had it all, right? However, I started from, I left home at 16, went away to college, and they thought that I was so smart that I could make it. However, I'm going from a segregated St. Louis to the University of Missouri. And wow, that was first year that they integrated the football team.
Wow.
And here I am, only a few blacks. And I'm looking around, what am I doing here? And so I did not do as well. I mean, I was used to just making on easy street, making grades and all. And then I thought I had to take a look and say, okay, now wait a minute, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
I knew that if I was going to succeed, I was going to have to work harder.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to excel. And so from that day on, I didn't go back to Mizzou, but I did eventually get my degree. But I got married at 17, left home, and it took me 13 years before I graduated from college. And once I graduated, but all along, while I'm taking classes to finish, I'm working, volunteering somewhere, trying to help others while I'm trying to help myself. I had set my goals, and I knew that made my challenges and said, okay, I'm going to do this because education is the key. And that is my main reason for pushing kids, because I know without an education, they could be stuck in poverty.
Yes.
And being stuck in poverty is what is creating many of our low self-esteem problems that we're having. And so I think there's so many of us who have failed at many things, but did not let that stop us and just decided that this is not me.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a temporary setback.
That's right.
Figure out a way to do it and go for it. And then if you miss it the first time, go the second time.
Oh, but hold on though. And Iris, I want to hear from you. Miss Gregg said, okay, took her 13 years to graduate college. Thank you for that, Miss Gregg. You see why we got to share our our disappointments, challenges, whatever. Yes. But I want to touch, but Miss Gregg, you had the drive. You said, okay, something ain't right, but I have to change this strategy so I can make it. Some of our kids, Iris, do they have that drive? Do they have that to say, man, okay, this is not working. What's plan B? I'm going to keep going.
That's what we've got to get instilled in the kids.
Okay.
Somehow.
Iris, you good.
What I was thinking about when she said education is key. Yeah. It's a little bit off, but it'll round its way back around.
Don't worry.
Our kids have actually so many resources available to them that aren't being fully taken advantage of.
Right.
Schools now through House Bill 5 that was implemented back in, I believe, 2017, to where pathways and endorsements and pathways were created to give kids exposure to different career paths and to actually, so if I want to be a nurse or if I want to go in healthcare, I would take the health science pathway. And then from there, I can come out with my EKG certification or my phlebotomy certification. And I can come out of, straight out of high school making good money. Yeah. Cybersecurity programs that they have where
that's right.
They actually can come out if they pass those certification tests, and the teachers are training them for those. They pass those, they can come out of high school making $60,000 plus a year. I mean, they have all of these opportunities available to them, but sometimes they're not taking advantage, and the parents just don't know.
Right.
And so that's why it's important for parents to please get connected with your schools.
Yes.
Please understand these different plans and what's available to your kids, because they can come out straight out of high school, make good money, really good money. So it's not about just education going to college. So everybody's not going to college. That's okay.
That's right.
There's so many programs. They have a program out now called Coursera, and you can take online courses. Some of them are free. Some of them cost, a little money here and there. But that's less than going to college. You can come out with certifications that way. There are so many avenues to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
But first is mapping out a plan to get there. And it's just helping them do that. And so the way schools are set up now, the goal is to help kids get on a path, get on a plan. If your child hasn't done a career inventory, have them do a career inventory. Most schools already have that through different programs such as Career Cruiser, Excello, different things to where they can actually start taking career inventories to start discovering what it is they want to do. But something that she said earlier is we all are unique and we all have special gifts. And so something I ask kids when they don't know, I'm like, your childhood dream, what are some things you used to dream of being? What is, because really it's in you.
It is.
God, he placed that in you. He placed gifts and skills that just come naturally to you. And it's those things that come naturally to you that you're supposed to use to be able to impart into the earth and be a blessing to others. And then in return, it's going to bless you too. Absolutely. And so helping kids to identify those gifts, those strengths that they have, and pulling on those strengths. And as educators or adults who work with kids, or even if you don't work with kids and want to get connected with the organization that does, or whatever it is, to help kids pull out those strengths, those talents, those gifts, those things within them that's going to help them thrive and shine. And like she said, low self-esteem, normally that kind of move out the way when you start operating in your gifts and being able to see, guess what? I have purpose. I have destiny. There's something in me, inside of me. So get connected. I think some of the disconnect sometimes is parents feel that the schools, they're just here. They just, no. Schools, there's some things we are trying to change within the system to be able to help kids be productive citizens when they graduate, even if they're not going to college. And later on, they want to go to college. I mean, they will at least go with experience. You know, they have background in nursing. I have background in being in pre-vet, being a veterinarian, different things like that, because they have so many programs to give our kids the exposure that they need to be successful. So just looking at it from that perspective and that key, how can I take advantage of every opportunity that's placed before me? Because there's opportunities all around you. You have to look at them and grab them.
Now look, Toy, shout out to Toy. She says, great job, ladies. You ladies are doing a great job. Miss Gregg, come on. She's got it. Now, look, and I'm going to say this. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. They may have taken God out of the schools, but they don't have to. They can't take God out of your house. Okay? They can't take God out of you that says, you know what? Maybe this counselor is not like an Iris or but I'm about to go find some information. I know there's some resource. How bad do you want it for your children? You cannot leave it up to the school system. These teachers, these ladies have just shared with you, our teachers are overworked, they are stressed, and then they have their own families too. There's all these things the school system is putting on them now. What are you going to do to take control? It's up to you. What are you going to do? How bad do you want it?
And if it's a kid who don't have the parent that want it for him, you got to tap into somebody who want it for you. You go find your mama, you go find your daddy, you go find that person that's going to import that positivity that you need inside of you to go. There's always somebody. God always has a ram in the bush. Yes. If mama's not there, if daddy's not there, Miss Williams is there.
That's right.
Whoever's there, Mr. Phillips is there. Somebody is there who can guide you. There's always somebody there who can help just pull you along.
That's right.
You to your next level. You got to look for them. And if I'm looking at everything from a negative lens, I'm not going to see it. I got to change them. I know I keep messing with my eyeglasses because they keep falling or whatever, but you got to
mine too.
Perspective, and you got to see the positive. That's something I tell kids. You got to learn how to look for the positive. There's these things called ants, automatic negative thoughts, and we all can have them. We all can have these negative thoughts that come, and you got to train your mind.
Oh, yes.
Pull out of those negative thoughts. You got to speak those positive affirmations into your life. And so those things that we have to teach our kids. And if it's not taught at home, we as adults, we fill in the gaps. Something I heard her say earlier, it just goes back to filling in the gaps.
Yes.
Filling in the gaps. If it's not at home, guess what? Somebody in the school got it to fill it in for you to be able to provide you with what you need. You got to think positive and say, you know what? There's been a resource provided for me right here. I'm going to lean on this person.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to dig into this person because they can help me get to my next level. Mama might can't. Daddy might not be able to, but Miss Williams can.
Yes.
Mr. Williams can.
And let me tell you, as an adult, same thing.
Grab hold to it.
Same thing with the enemy. He'll hit me with these negative thoughts. You'll never make it. You still didn't. I got the word of God. Ephesians 2:10 says, I'm a masterpiece. Jared, enemy, you're not gonna mess with me. Kids, if you listening, God, it doesn't stop when you're a child. He will mess with you when you're an adult. But I speak the word of God. I don't quote. It says demons tremble at the name of Jesus. Demons don't tremble at your quote of the day from the celebrity. You have to call out the word of God, people. And they talking to kids, but we talking to adults too.
Yeah.
Now
but we're talking about mental health.
Hello.
Yes. Peace that surpasses all understanding. You gotta dig in and grab hold of peace.
Come on.
Yes.
You gotta.
I've always said, if I do my best, God's gonna do the rest. And the challenges that I have faced in my life are many.
Yeah.
But if I couldn't solve it in 20 minutes, okay, God, here I come again. And He works it out.
Oh, yes.
So you might not be in the classroom, but on the side, the kids, you can walk it and show it without having to say it all the time. And the kids know that you care.
Yes.
And if you show them that you care, they're going to work a little harder because I always told them, if you want it to happen, it's up to you.
Yes.
It's there, but you have to do your part. Yeah. And if we can get them to just figure that out, and then we work on trying to get the schools to have the PTAs in the low income, because a lot of those PTAs are not functioning, so we can't get to the parents. But if we could get to the parents to work with them a little bit, then perhaps we might be able
to. Like your program does.
Absolutely. And we get them together, but sometimes we'll plan something and they won't come out. But now we have been mentoring in schools, and during Teacher Appreciation Week, they worked with several schools. And so building the relationships within the schools. And we sponsor African American, the Black History programs and things of this sort. So by seeing the visibility and knowing what we do, then that's credibility and all.
Yeah.
We offer tutoring and things of this sort. So, it's a long struggle, but you stay in the game. We have one member. There's a program called the grandparents program, where she goes to school every day. Every day. And she said, I can't miss because those kids need me. She's a retired educator.
That's right.
But she's older than I am and still going out there every day.
She's grandmama to all the kids. Is what
45? She's 45? Wow. Okay.
So, and I said, I can't get out of my bed every morning, but I'm doing what I can. And so I think if we all do what we can, making a difference where we can, and helping the kids to do all that they can to raise their self-esteem, they have to dig. But we have to help them and show them the way.
That's right. Perfect way to end this. I want to read Lisa's comments, and then I'm going to get final comments from you ladies. She said, we are here on earth to be of service to others.
Absolutely.
Children need us.
Yes.
And even if you reach just one, you've done your job. And Sister Gregg, once you do your part, you pass the baton. You've done your part. It's on us, right? It's on us. Sister Gregg, you've done your part. What are we going to do that you've passed the baton? Lisa has said this is an awesome show. I agree.
It is.
Now, absolutely. Now, as we end this, ladies, Iris, I want to start with you, then you, Sister Gregg. Give us contact information, final comments. Where can we reach you? What organizations are you in? All that good stuff.
You can get in contact with me through my website, www.ourcounselingcorner.com. That's OUR. You can sign up on the website, get that information. My email is on there, and that's info@ourcounselingcorner.com. And so you can find just a lot of great resources there. You can reach out to me. I have some people who've emailed me. I will email you back. But yeah, it's a lot of great resources out there. And that's the goal of pushing that out, is so you can find what you need.
That's right. And Iris and I are also on the board of Celebrating You. Lisa, you saw on here, she's the executive director. We're helping our teens. I mean, events, and during Community Corner, I will be mentioning our upcoming financial literacy, our entrepreneur conference we're having for the kids, workshop for young people, teaching them, giving them tools and resources to be entrepreneurs. We've got to do it. Celebratingyou.org. Donate. No amount is too, but the money is going to the kids,
and it's going to celebrate you.
It's really going to celebrate you. That's right. So these kids can we are pouring into these kids. The money is going to the kids. Yes, that's another topic for another time. I can go there. The Sister Gregg, Iris, was that it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. Iris, wonderful, wonderful having you on. Sister Gregg, final comments. Talk a little bit about your organization.
Well, as I said, Concerned Citizens for African American Parents, we've been in existence for since 2003. And since I'm in the Woodlands area, I've always been like a liaison. And I'm still the liaison. I thought that I was going to ease on out, but since pandemic was happening, I still Zoom in with them sometimes, and also, but they're still very actively involved. And same thing with the sorority and all. They're still working in the area, and I donate when I can, and that's it. But I'm in the 80s. I'm retired. Trying to keep moving, but I support what you're doing 100%. Yeah. And Iris, it was a pleasure meeting you.
It was a pleasure meeting you too.
Good luck, and I hope to meet you again sometimes.
Oh yes,
ladies.
I'm telling you, I'm aiming to be like that right there.
Okay,
you're still hitting it, and ain't it looking good while you're doing it and you're serving others? I love it.
Black dumb crack. So what does it tell you? We got to stay active. We have to stay active.
Absolutely.
Stay active serving. Let me read this last comment, ladies, and then I'll let you go. She says, great show, Dawn. Great show, Iris, Sister Gregg, and God. To God be the glory. This is radio ministry, what we're doing here. Ladies, I know you have to go to bed because Sister Gregg, you got to get up and volunteer for something. Somebody gonna call it tomorrow. Iris, you got to get up and serve the kids. We can't have y'all,
Well, actually, tomorrow's an off day.
Oh, okay.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Don't bother her tomorrow. Parents, she loves you, but don't bother her tomorrow.
I got a 4 day. 4 days.
All right. Ooh, let me applaud that for Iris.
Iris.
Yes.
Iris, where do you work? Where are you?
I'm in Burleson ISD.
Burleson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were down in this area.
Oh, no. I'm in the DFW area.
Hey.
Okay.
Ladies, let me tell you something. Y'all are absolutely amazing. I want to say God bless you both. Thank you so much. I know my dad is so excited, right? He said he doesn't even care I'm on. He's like, Miss Gregg on. He's so excited about it. Well, he loves him some Miss Gregg. Wonderful person.
Let me tell you this. Your dad has been a lifesaver. I didn't mention that because I knew the timing. However, I work with Dr. King. I'm a founding member of the Dr. King commemoration.
Wow.
And we have been in existence for more than 30 years. Wow. But we celebrated our 30th year just recently. And your father, about when Cameron Dockery was in the 7th grade, I had told him, I said, I'm tired of the kids. I want them to know more than just I have a dream speech. Yeah. So I gave him this book and said, I want these kids, they might not ever be as good as you are because he's a genius when it comes to speaking. I said, but they can learn. And I wanted them to be under him. There were 3 who started at the same time. Cameron stuck with it. And Cameron participated in each of our MLK programs from the time he was 7th grade. He is on his way to England for,
all right.
Well, it's a work study program that he did last year. Yeah. And they're going back, and then he'll come back in March from Prairie View on August 12th. Your father helped so many kids. He's so good with that. And so I owed this and I said, how on earth did Don? And then it dawned on me, okay, I owe because he's been so good for the community. And so the MLK program and anything that I need in the community, I've always had people I'm a visionary, and
Yes.
I would have all the worker bees to come and help me between
Yes.
my sorority and the church, Macedonia ministry people.
Yes.
Anytime I needed anything, I would go and say, "You got to help me," and they would rally. And so I just appreciate, especially my members of Tau Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I'm asking them to step up next year even more, because
And they will.
I have another job for them.
They will. Get to work, ladies. Look, I'm a Delta. Get to work, all of us. Iris, Sister Gregg, I want to say God bless you. Enjoy your 5 days off, 5 days off, Iris. Enjoy your retirement, Sister Gregg.
Thank you.
God bless you both, ladies. Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
God bless you. Thank you.